Welcome back to another episode of Joyful Mate. I'm your Joyful Journey mentor, Anthony Harcher, and it's with great delight I have introducing David Lindsay, who is the first guest on the Joyful Mate podcast. David Lindsay is an international speaker. He has a background in rugby league, wrestling, and boxing, and he is a fantastic keynote speaker, presents really well, huge amounts of vitality, and people often ask him, why is he so happy? So I've asked him that question on the Joyful Mate podcast and asked him what are his mates of happiness. And he shared some great insights on happiness, and you will get a lot out of this episode and discussion with David. So without much further ado, I'd love to welcome you into the discussion I'm having with David Lindsay. Welcome on the Joyful Mate podcast. How are you, David Lindsay?
I'm fantastic, Anthony. Thank you very much for having me as a guest. I'm super excited and pumped up to share some philosophies and ideas in how everyone can increase their happiness. Not happy all the time, as we spoke about just before, but increasing the happiness ratio to sadness, definitely.
Fantastic, and it's why you're the first guest on Joyful Mate. I reached out to you as I was scrolling through YouTube and come across one of your videos, and I find them very insightful, and I just started watching it, and I was thinking, this is perfect, the perfect guest. For the listeners, David was talking about, he gets commonly asked, or a common question that he gets asked by his mates is, why are you so happy? So that's my first question to you, David, is why are you so happy?
Yeah, for sure. For me, that's such an easy question to answer, because I have goals that I didn't have years ago. I have a job where I change people's lives for a living. I have direction to go, and that just keeps me going. Knowing through working in a gym and also speaking, you get to change the lives of thousands and thousands of people. Being on this podcast, I get to change the lives of hundreds of people that I'm, hopefully thousands or millions of people that I'm never going to see. But knowing the impact that you have globally, if you can't be happy with that, how are you going to be happy?
Absolutely, David. And I think it'd be also really helpful for the listeners to understand that you've been on a journey. You've certainly had your challenges along the way, career setbacks, or if you call them a setback. But please share with the listeners a bit about your journey, just so that they can understand that it's been a journey.
It certainly has, and there's been plenty of ups and downs, bumps and bruises along the way. I started off playing rugby league in the lower grades of South Sydney. When I was younger, I suffered 2 knee reconstructions. The first one when I was 17, the second one when I was 21. And that was something that I really devoted my life to. And, for that to get ripped out from underneath you, all of a sudden your world gets shaken up. But then again, I found some ways to move forward. And I got picked up by an arm wrestling coach at Bondi Junction, Westfields. And I got into arm wrestling and got into that. Snapped my arm doing that, and my arm became paralyzed. I was on my way to some professional arm wrestling tournaments over in America. Happened to break it over in Corfu, a little island in Greece. That wasn't the worst part of it. The worst part of it was when I came back to Australia and I got a plate put in my arm. My arm all of a sudden became paralyzed. So at the ripe old age of 22, being in the fitness industry for the past 3 years, I was really starting to gain traction. Again, that got whipped out from underneath me. And this was really the darkest point that I've been to in my life. I couldn't use my arm. I felt useless. I had no goals. I had no dreams. I had nothing to strive for. So then it was during this time, during the darkest of times in my life, that I started doing personal development. I went and did speaking courses. I sort of built myself up, but I also, once I started to get movement back, I got into fighting. And it seems a big jump. People go, David, haven't you had enough of sports? You've had 2 knee reconstructions playing rugby league. You snapped your arm doing arm wrestling. But I was still young, I was still competitive, and I got into fighting. And having those coaches and mentors along the way, they also give you structure and guidance. And my wrestling coach was a big part in my life as well, moving forward and upwards. And then, like I said, after that, got into personal development, got into speaking, and, knowing that there's a whole wide world out there that you can impact the lives of millions of people and millions of people that you may never see. So it's been a very much up and down, but you learn more during the down times than the up times, that's for sure.
Yeah, 100% agree. It's those challenging times that teach us the lessons that we needed to learn, right? Yeah. So what are your mates of happiness? I thought I'd ask it in that particular area. And what I'm looking for is the companions. What are the things that you do on a regular basis that keeps that happy ratio how you like it?
And this is, again, such an easy question, because whenever I'm feeling a little bit down, I work in a gym. I go and I train. I move my body with power, passion, and purpose. Because being able to bust out of the shackles really just helps change the way that you move, and therefore the way that you feel, and therefore your mood on top of that. Now we all have our mobile phones accessible to us, so I put on some high energy music or some motivational speakers to listen to. So I'm just constantly training myself. As I mentioned before, we all have down times or down moments, but we must catch that moment, flip it around, move our body with power, passion, and purpose, and get back on the upward spiral towards that happiness.
So it's very much that train that mind and to seek mentors, guidance, people that have achieved, people that know their direction and that help aspire you to get on course again and find your path. And so that's been instrumental for you in terms of that turnaround. And then it's not only training the mind on a regular basis, but you're also training the body on a regular basis.
Yeah, that for me is essential, because when I snapped my arm and my arm became paralyzed, I went into a very quick spiral downhill, where because my arm wasn't working, I've just felt in the dumps. My whole posture, my whole life went into the dumps. Whereas now when I go to the gym and I move or I go for a run, you don't even need a gym. Go find a hill, do some hill sprints. You're going to feel knackered at the end of it, but you're going to feel so much better, and you're going to have accomplished something that you wouldn't have otherwise done. And also knowing that I'm in the position that I am now, where I'm a coach, I'm a speaker and a mentor as well. It's about constantly being able to raise the bar, not just on everyone else's standards, but on my own standards as well. I don't believe in hypocrites in any part of life. So I can't talk this and not live it. So I live what I speak about, my 5 steps towards improved vitality. And that's using the power posture, using music to help pump you up, get you excited. And as I said, moving with power, passion, and purpose.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And you certainly are that Energizer bunny. You always come bouncing into the room. I was just looking, the Riverside recording studio, they take a first shot of you when you join the studio. And it's so great to see your shot. You're busting with one. You come in like this. And so it's sort of like, yeah, exactly. I'm ready. Bring it on. So
Definitely.
I'll be certainly sharing that on the socials if you don't mind.
I'll go for it. Because as with this, like this podcast, speaking, being on any interview, doing anything where you're associated with people, you need to make that positive impact right from the get-go. So I bring the energy, and I do that with big movements. I'm standing up while I'm doing this, so I have the freedom to move, because everything flows off the back of that. You see people, they're sitting at their desk, they're sitting slumpy, their shoulders are hunched, they can't breathe properly, and they wonder why their attitude is in the dumps as well. You get up, and again you move, and don't just amble along. Walk with purpose. Put your headphones on. Listen to something upbeat, and it just keeps coming back to that. And like we were talking about before, it's you train yourself. We all have that negative self-talk. We all have those days, when we just go, oh, it's too cold. But I've trained myself to pick myself up. There's a Mel Robbins book, The 5-Second Rule. So do the 5, 4, 3, 2, get up and go. Act before your mind really beats you. You win the first battle, and then the rest of the day rolls off the back of that.
And absolutely, you're walking the talk. I can see it in the podcast, and certainly you live your 5 steps of vitality. There's no doubt about that. And I would say that that's a core part of your equation, isn't it? Is keep the vitality up and the mood's up, and you feel great, right? So that's one of your, real core mateships to, staying upbeat and keeping that happy ratio the way you like it.
Definitely. And the great thing as well with this is it's catchy, because say you might have been sitting there going, no, I don't know if I want to talk to David. I know what he's like. But then given a couple of minutes and you're going, yes, no, let's get into this. And it's the same as in an office environment, in a family environment, it becomes catchy. But you have to be aware that this can work for you or it can also work against you. You have that positive, upbeat energy and it becomes catchy, or you have that negative, draw the energy out of everyone, the energy vampires, that becomes catchy as well.
And so what's your top tips for the listeners around assisting them on their happy journey?
Yeah, so you need to have an end destination in mind. Mine is to make an impact on the global scale with the speaking, is to get out there, and that keeps driving me forward. I've also got my wife and daughter at home where I want to really leave something for them to go up and go, man, my husband is a great guy. He's making an impact in the world. My dad, man, I want to be so great at whatever I do that no one can compare for my daughter to her dad. And it's just having those goals to keep striving for. I have those goals in my business. I have those goals in my private life as well, to make sure that I get up and train, to have those things to keep striving towards. Because when you don't have those end goals, that's where you end up flapping around in nowhere, in no man's land. You have no purpose, you have no guidance, you have no northern light. So having those goals and having multiple goals to constantly be striving for, that also enables you to have a little check-off list where along the way, and how good does it feel to go, I got my first international speaking gig, tick that off. I got this done, tick that off. In getting towards the goals, and that gives you that surge and that drive to keep on going, no matter what's happening external, because we can't control that. We can only control ourselves and our actions.
100% agree. It's totally, you're working with what's in your control, and that's yourself.
Yeah.
And there's no point in, losing energy to the external world that you can't control. You have no control over it. So it's great that you really focus on, how you respond to things. And it's about that. You shared that 5-second rule that you have, if you're feeling a bit low, it's counting for 5 and then bouncing back with huge amounts of vitality. I also loved how you led with, you got to have that North Star. You got to know that direction and know it well. And you've got your why there. The why is quite clear for you. You want to leave a legacy, and you want to be the best father and the best partner you can be. I just love it. It's so simple, yet it provides a massive North Star for you and leads that vitality charge that you have. Any concluding words that you'd like to partake on the listeners?
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned it just there where it's so simple. And that's what I like to do. I'm a fighter. I'm a footballer. I'm an arm wrestler. I'm not the most book savvy person out there. So I keep things simple. So many people overcomplicate them. Have 1, maybe 2 goals. But that one goal, that it's simple to see. The track to get there, and you have those things to tick off. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate things. This is where people who are they have all of this book learning knowledge where they confuse themselves because they've got all of these other things. Break it down. Keep it simple. Our bodies love routines and rituals. So have that. Use that to snap into action, raise your vitality, raise your energy, and everything else will fall into place.
Fantastic. And how can the listeners reach out to you if they want some more vitality, or they want some coaching, mentoring, or, just a guide to help,
For sure. I'm out there to help anyone that I can. That's 100%. So whether it's on LinkedIn, I'm very active on that, or they can always email me at david@davidlindsay.com.au, because I'm open to helping people, whether it's coaching, whether it's mentoring, whether it's speaking to companies. Because as we spoke about beforehand, I love getting out there and speaking to the large companies, because coaching is brilliant. I can work one-on-one. But when it comes to companies, I can work 1 to hundreds, 1 to thousands. And that way it creates that ripple effect as well. So you end up helping millions in the blink of an eye. And that's what I want to do. I want to help as many people as possible. So 100% reach out, and I'll be in contact whenever they decide to.
And to the listeners, I'll include those links and email address in the show notes. And certainly reach out to David if you're looking for that coach, that guy, that person to inspire you on your journey to your North Star and help him reach the masses. If you know of anyone looking for a great keynote speaker, David's the man. So, connecting with any opportunities. Yeah.
Thank you very much for Anthony. Yeah, and I just, like I said, love getting out there and making a difference. And yeah, the more people that get on this bandwagon, the merrier. And so long as we're all heading in that same direction, we just build that momentum.
100%, David. And I really thank you for sharing some terrific insights on the first interview on Joyful Mate. So I appreciate it, mate. Thank you.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.